Gamebridge Fieldhouse is electric. 20,000 voices thunder Caitlyn Clark's name, the building shaking like it's the final seconds of March Madness. The Fever are rolling. Clark just buried another logo 3, and little girls in stands are wearing her jersey like it's armor made of hope. Then the Jumbotron cuts to black. When the feed returns, it isn't a replay. It's Sophie Cunningham, live on her podcast set, blonde hair glowing under ring. Lights, smile sharp enough to cut glass. I'm not coming back to the WNBA next season. She says, casual as ordering coffee. I already signed. It's official. Dead silence swallows the arena. You can hear A. Phone drop 3 sections up. A mom clutches her daughter's Caitlyn jersey like, it might vanish. Someone whispers, Saudi? And the word spreads faster than wildfire, because everyone already knows what Sophie won't say out loud. Project B, the Phantom League with the infinite war chest, the one quietly funded by the same Riyadh billions that bought LIV Golf and half the soccer world, the one dangling 8-figure base salaries to bench, players and 9-figure guarantees to anyone with a pulse and a jumper. Sophie leans closer to the camera, still grinning. It's generational money. You'd take it too. Cut back to the court. Caitlyn stands frozen at half court, ball tucked under her arm, eyes locked on the screen like she's watching her league bleed out in real time. The roar is gone. In its place, pure betrayal hanging thick in the air. In that single heartbeat, every fan felt the ground shift. Sophie Cunningham didn't just walk away from the WNBA. She lit the match. And the next name on that overseas hit list is the one player whose departure would burn the entire league to the ground. Stay with me, because what Sophie did next, try and pull Caitlyn Clark into the flames with her, left an entire nation gasping. The lights in Gamebridge never came back up the same after that night. Something sacred cracked wide open, and every fan felt in their chests like a bad news about family. Because this isn't just about one player chasing a bag. This is about the soul of the league we fought for, bled for, marched for. The WNBA was never supposed to be easy. It was born in 1996 with 8 teams, folding chairs, and a prayer. Players flew commercial, shared hotel rooms, worked second jobs in the off-season. They did it so little black girls, brown girls, queer girls, immigrant daughters could see themselves on national television and believe the world had room for their dreams too. And for 28 years, every single gain. Charter flights, maternity leave. The men still don't have a CBA that finally cracked 200 grand. Came because those women refused to sell that dream for anything. Now here comes Project B, gliding in on private. Jets and blood-stained billions, whispering the oldest lie in sports. Your loyalty is cute, but our money is forever. They're not offering raises. They're offering extinction-level paychecks. $2 million to warm the bench. $5 to $10 million for a solid starter like Sophie. And for the face of the league, whispers say, north of $100 million guaranteed. No questions about human rights. No. Questions about why the same country that bans women from driving until 2018 suddenly loves women's hoops. This isn't competition. This is colonization. With a smile. Think about what we just lived through in 2024 and 2025. Sold out arenas from Vegas to Indianapolis. Little girls painting their faces with the Fever logo. Immigrant moms crying in the nosebleeds because their daughter finally saw someone who looked like her Drain A, 30-footer on ESPN. Caitlyn Clark didn't just break records. She broke open doors that had been welded shut for generations. All of that momentum, all of that proof that America can love women's sports when we actually show up for them is now balanced on the edge of a knife. Because Sophie Cunningham wasn't the real target. She was a warning shot. The proof they can peel away a beloved veteran with a podcast and a smile. The message to every agent in the league was crystal. If we'll pay Sophie 8 figures, imagine what we'll pay the woman who single-handedly doubled your television ratings. And the scariest part? The WNBA can't even. Bluff. The max salary next year is $250,000. That's the ceiling for the greatest season any rookie has ever had. That's the reward for turning a league from niche to national obsession. So when Sophie went on that podcast and said, "You do the same," she wasn't just being arrogant. She was daring every player watching to choose between generational wealth and generational legacy. And she didn't stop at leaving. Late that same night, Sophie slid into Spaces. Nobody expected, smiling that same ring light smile, and started privately, recruiting the one player whose signature would kill the WNBA faster than any lawsuit or lockout ever could. She went after Caitlyn Clark herself. And what Caitlyn said back, in a moment nobody saw coming, changed everything. Hold on tight, because the next words out of Sophie's mouth were meant to lure a queen, but they woke up a lion instead. Section 3. Antagonist backstory, 800 words. Sophie Cunningham grew up on a gravel road, outside Rockbridge, Missouri, the kind of place where Friday night lights and Sunday church were the only entertainment in town. White picket fences, corn, higher than your dreams, and a daddy who coached her AAU team like it was West. Point. She learned early. Smile pretty, shoot prettier, and never let them see. You sweat. By the time she got to Missouri State, she was already a brand. Blonde ponytail swinging like a battle flag. 3-point stroke wetter than A. Summer storm. And a mouth that could trash talk a ref into early retirement. The WNBA drafted her in the second round, handed her a $60,000 rookie deal, and told her welcome to the grind. Sophie didn't blink. She turned that into content gold. Locker room dances on TikTok, Arby's, curly fry mukbangs, hot girl summer, shoots in a Mercury jersey that made, Middle America clutch pearls, and hit follow at the same time. 3 million followers, brand deals, magazine covers. She built an empire on being the league's favorite firecracker next door. And for a minute, she wore the WNBA like a crown. She barked at rookies who dare breathe on Caitlyn in the paint. She posted protect women's sports graphics when the culture wars got ugly. She cried on camera talking about how her overseas contracts in Russia paid the bills so her teammates didn't have to. She was the loudest voice in every room. The girl who said she'd die in a Mercury jersey. The one who told Little White girls from small towns that this league was their birthright too. Then the whispers started. At first, it was just a DM from a burner account. Interested in a conversation? Then a Zoom link, then a non-disclosure. Agreement thicker than the Bible. Sophie told herself she was just listening. Curiosity, not betrayal. But the numbers they slid across the screen made her. Palm sweat. 8 figures guaranteed. Equity in the league. Private charters. No more 4 a.m. commercial flights out of Istanbul. All she had to do was be the first domino. She told the project be suits. She needed time. They laughed and said, "We have all the time in the world and none of the salary cap." They showed her mock-ups of billboards in Riyadh with her face 20 stories tall. Told her she'd be the global face of women's basketball. Bigger than Caitlyn. Bigger than Diana. Bigger than anyone who ever stayed loyal to a league that paid crumbs. That's when the mask started slipping. On her podcast, she began dropping breadcrumbs. Players deserve more. Some leagues actually value women. I'm just saying, open your mind. She posted cryptic Instagram stories of private jets and desert sunsets. She laughed off Saudi human rights questions with a hair flip and a, "That's above my pay grade." She started calling the WNBA cute and a stepping stone. Cute. The same league that turned a farm girl into a millionaire. The same league whose jersey she swore she'd never take off. And then came the ultimate arrogance. She went on air and said Caitlyn Clark should think bigger than the WNBA. That staying was playing small. That real icons don't wait for an American league to catch up. They go where the money already respects them. She said it with that same Missouri smile, like she was doing Caitlyn a favor, like she wasn't holding the Knife she'd already plunged into every teammate who ever had her back. Sophie Cunningham stopped being the loudmouth, protector, and became the seduced by the same forces she once mocked men for. Chasing. She traded sisterhood for a golden parachute, loyalty for a private, terminal, and the roar of American arenas for the hush of money that never has. To explain itself, she thought the world would thank her for raising the bar. Instead, the world watched her become exactly what she used to hate. And the cruelest part? She still believes she's the victim in this story. But victims don't recruit the next target. They don't slide into Caitlyn Clark's DMs with a contract offer that could buy a small country and whisper, "Come with me, we'll change the game together." Sophie thought Caitlyn would fold the way she did. She was wrong. And when Caitlyn looked her dead in the eye and said the one word that broke the spell, Sophie realized too late that some fires can't be bought, only forged. Hold on tight, because the moment Caitlyn shut, that door forever is coming, and it's going to hit harder than any crossover you've ever seen. She grew up in West Des Moines where cornfields outnumber stoplights, and the only arena that mattered was the one carved out of driveway with a rusted rim. Caitlyn Clark learned to shoot by flashlight, the ball echoing off gravel while her dad held an umbrella against Iowa snow, so the session wouldn't end. Every make was a promise to the girl, who looked nothing like the magazine covers of women's basketball, but dreamed bigger than all of them. People forget how lonely that dream was. While other kids scrolled TikTok, Caitlyn was in the gym at 6 a.m., headphones, blasting Kendrick, launching 30-footers until her arms shook. The same media that now crowns her savior once dismissed her as that white girl from Iowa who shoots too far. Recruiters whispered she was too slow, too slight, too Midwestern. She answered by breaking every record the state had, then every record the Big Ten had, then every record the NCAA had, all while wearing the same quiet half smile that said, "Watch me prove you wrong," without ever raising my voice. But the real fire started earlier in the hospital corridors and crowded living rooms where her mom, a second-generation Filipino-American, translated paperwork for immigrant families who couldn't navigate the system. Caitlyn grew up watching her mother fight for strangers with the same ferocity she later brought to the court. She learned that pride isn't loud. It's showing up again and again when no one is forced to care. That lesson became the spine beneath every logo 3, every no-look dime, every time she lifted a teammate after a missed free throw. When the WNBA finally called, she didn't arrive as some polished product. She arrived raw, still carrying the chip of every doubt ever thrown her way. And in her rookie year, she didn't just play. She rewrote the possible, sold out arenas in cities that used to yawn at women's basketball, little black girls, little Latina girls, little queer kids, little immigrant daughters suddenly seeing someone who looked nothing like the old guard but played like the future itself. Viewership tripled. Merch flew off shelves. The league's valuation jumped hundreds of millions, almost all of it tied to the gravity of one 22-year-old who still answered every fan letter and still tipped custodial staff like they were family. Yet the brighter the spotlight grew, the quieter Caitlyn became off-camera, while others chased brand deals in private jets. She quietly funded after-school programs in Des Moines and Manila, built courts in underserved neighborhoods, and paid medical bills for families she read about on GoFundMe. When asked why she never posted about it, she shrugged. "My mom taught me you don't flex service. You just do it." That same heart is why, when the first whispers of Project B money reached her last spring, she didn't flinch. Agents slid 9-figure term sheets across tables, private charters, equity stakes, promises of global icon status bigger than anything the WNBA could ever offer. She listened politely, the way her mother taught her to listen to everyone, then slid the papers back and signed. "I'm not for sale," she said, voice soft but final. "This league raised me. These fans believed in me when no one else did. I'm staying until the work here is finished." And that refusal wasn't just principle. It was prophecy. Because Caitlyn understood something the money men never will. Some legacies aren't measured in dollars, but in the doors you kick open for every kid who looks in the mirror and finally sees a path. She chose to be the bridge, not the exit sign. So when Sophie can flash her new contract on podcasts, can laugh about generational wealth all she wants, Caitlyn already built hers, brick by brick, in the hearts of every little girl clutching at $12, ticket in the nosebleeds, screaming her name like salvation, but loyalty that deep comes with a cost. And the moment Sophie realized just how unbreakable Caitlyn's really is, she stopped recruiting and started targeting. Because if you can't buy the queen, the next best move is to tear her kingdom down around her. And what Sophie whispered in the shadows next almost broke the internet in half. The podcast drops on a quiet Tuesday night, and by Wednesday morning the entire internet is on fire. Sophie's voice is velvet and venom all at once. Caitlyn, girl, listen. $2 million minimum just to show up. Private charters. Equity in the league. You still be the face, just on a global stage that actually pays you like the phenomenon you are. The chat explodes. Heart emojis, dollar signs. 1,000 people typing, take the bag, before Caitlyn has even opened her mouth. Caitlyn sits across from her in the split screen, hoodie up, hair in that perfect messy bun, eyes calm like a Midwestern lake, right before the tornado touches down. She lets Sophie finish. The entire pitch, every glittering promise, every subtle dig about how the WNBA can't even give us first class on commercial flights. Then she speaks, soft but lethal. No. One word. No anger. No lecture. Just no. Sophie's smile falters for half a second. The first crack in the armor. She recovers fast. Laughs it off. Come on, CCB. Real. You're leaving hundreds of millions on the table. Because of loyalty? To a league that paid you $76,000 as a rookie. The comment section turns into a war zone. Half the viewers clutch pearls. The other half start typing manifestos about respect, about building something bigger than yourself. Caitlyn leans in, voice still quiet, but now every syllable lands like a hammer. I'm not for sale, Sophie. Not for $2 million. Not for $200 million. Some of us are playing for the little black girl in Chicago who finally sees arenas sold out for women who look like her. Some of us are playing for the Latina mom working doubles so her daughter can go to my camp for free. Some of us are playing so the next kid from a town too small to have a stoplight believes she can be rookie of the year too. You want to chase the money? Cool. But don't pretend it's about global stage when the stage you're choosing washes the blood off its hands with $100 bills. The chat freezes. Then it erupts again, this time all caps. Preach, queen, protect Caitlyn at all costs. Sophie tries to interrupt, voice climbing. Higher, sharper. You're being naive. You think the WNBA is going to save you when your knees go at 32. Caitlyn just smiles, small and sad and unbreakable. Maybe not, but I'll sleep like a champion. Can you say the same? The screen splits again, Sophie's face flushed. Pupils wide, Caitlyn serene, almost glowing. The silence between them is louder than any arena roar. And in that moment, every single person watching knows the line has been drawn in permanent ink. Sophie came to recruit. Caitlyn just declared, war. Hold on tight, because what Caitlyn did next wasn't just a rejection. It was the most devastating counterattack women's basketball has ever seen. And when it landed, Sophie's entire empire started to crumble in real time. Section 6. The mic drop counterattack. 1,100 words. The invitation came wrapped in silk and gold. Leaf, a private Zoom link. No recording allowed, just Sophie, a project bee, executive in a crisp thobe, and Caitlyn Clark on the other side of the screen. They laid out like a fairy tale. 200 million guaranteed over 5 years, full ownership stake, her own signature hijab line if she wanted it, private schooling for future kids flown in from Iowa every break. All she had to do was say yes and become the global face of women's basketball. Somewhere else. Sophie leaned in, voice honey sweet. Kate, this isn't even a choice. This is freedom. This is every little girl who looks like us finally getting paid what LeBron gets paid. You'd be a traitor to progress if you said no. The screen stayed quiet. Caitlyn's face gave. Nothing away, calm, almost bored, the same look she wears when she's about to. Drop 40 on somebody's head. Then she spoke, soft enough that the exec had to. Lean forward. Let me make sure I understand, she began. You want me to leave the league that raised me, the fans who sold out Barnes in South Carolina and Vegas just to watch me grow up in real time, the little black and brown girls in the front row wearing my jersey next to their mamas in hijabs, the immigrant dads driving 4 hours because their daughter finally sees someone who looks like success on American television. You want me to abandon them so I can play in empty arenas for billionaires who still won't let women drive alone at night. Sophie laughed, nervous now. It's not that. Deep, Kate. It's business. Caitlyn smiled, but it wasn't warm. Business. Built on the same money that whitewashes executions and disappears journalists. Nah, I'm good. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The quiet sliced deeper than any scream ever could. Then came the part the internet still hasn't recovered from. Caitlyn opened a folder on her desk, slow, deliberate, and started sliding documents across the shared screen like she was dealing cards in a poker game nobody else knew they were playing. First page. The WNBA's new media deal numbers, blacked out until that moment, showing a 400% revenue jump directly tied to her rookie year. Second page. Project B's own pitch deck accidentally forwarded by an overeager agent, revealing they still hadn't secured a single domestic broadcast partner in the entire Middle East because no network wanted to touch the human rights heat. Third page. Screenshots of Sophie's own DMs begging for a bigger cut because the tax situation is insane over there and half the money disappears into fees. The Zoom chat went graveyard silent. Caitlyn let the silence breathe, then spoke. Again, softer still. I'm not mad at anybody chasing a bag. Lord knows my mama worked 3 jobs so I could chase a ball. But don't dress betrayal up as revolution. Don't tell me I'm holding women back by staying exactly where the women who came before me bled for me to stand. And don't you dare use progress as lipstick on a sports washing pig. Sophie tried to interrupt. Caitlyn just kept going. You want to leave? Cool. Go cash your check and post your private jet thirst traps. But the second you started recruiting me on that podcast, the second you made it sound like loyalty to the WNBA was small thinking, you made this personal. So here's what's about to happen. She leaned closer to the camera, eyes blazing, with something fiercer than anger, purpose. Every dime of my next Nike check is going straight into a fund for WNBA rookies who can't afford rent between seasons. Every sold-out arena I walk into this year is getting a "Thank you, America" banner paid for out of my pocket. And every little girl wearing 22 is going to know that staying and fighting for what's yours is the most gangster move there is. Then she did the thing that broke the internet in half. She held up her phone, screen facing the camera, a text thread with Commissioner Engelbert timestamped that morning. The last message from Kathy. Whatever you need, you have the entire league behind you. Caitlyn looked straight into the lens, past Sophie, past the exec, straight to every fan watching the leak that dropped. 20 minutes later. I'm not going anywhere. This league is my home. These fans are my family. And if y'all want a war over the soul of women's basketball, you just found out which side has a heart to win it. She ended the call. The clip leaked before Sophie could even close. Her laptop. Within an hour, hashtag Caitlyn Stays was the #1 trend worldwide. Within 2 hours, Sue Bird, Aya Wilson, and Sabrina Ionescu had all posted the same black and white photo of Caitlyn's face mid-crossover, with the caption, "This is a standard." And somewhere across the Atlantic, a private jet sat empty on a runway, pilot waiting for a passenger who suddenly wasn't. Sure, she still wanted to board, because when Caitlyn Clark chose loyalty over a kingdom, she didn't just save her own legacy. She reminded every single one of us what real power looks like. But the backlash was only getting started, and what the league did in the next 48 hours turned a mic drop into a movement that still hasn't stopped shaking the sports world. The second Caitlyn Clark stepped off that USA basketball practice floor and said, plain and soft, "I'm staying home. I'm building here," the internet Armageddon hit. Within 30 minutes, hashtag Caitlyn Stays was the #1 trending topic worldwide, beating Taylor Swift's new single and whatever war was raging that week. 10 million views on the clip of her walking away from the podium with that quiet half smile, the one that says, "I already made my choice and nobody can buy me." Little black girls in Chicago braids, Latina teens in fever jerseys, white kids from Iowa cornfields, all of them flooding the timeline with the same crying laughing emoji and the same caption. She said an ode to 100 million like it was spare change. Meanwhile, Sophie's mentions turned into a crime scene. The same fans who once called her white chocolate and spam hard eyes under every bikini thirst trap now posted side-by-side screenshots. Her on the podcast laughing about generational money, next to a photo of migrant workers building Saudi stadiums in 130-degree heat. The comments were brutal and beautiful. "You sold the culture for blood oil, sophomore." Caitlyn just proved loyalty is still a superpower. Someone stitched a viral clip of Sophie saying, "You'd take it too. With Caitlyn's calm, no, I wouldn't." And it racked up 40 million views before breakfast. The WNBA's own account, silent for years on. Anything Real finally posted a single photo. Caitlyn hugging a teary-eyed little girl in a number 22 jersey. Caption, "This is why we play." No hashtags, no emojis, just truth. It became the most liked post in league history. Celebrities who had stayed quiet during the whole circus suddenly found their voices. Candace Parker quote tweeted Sophie's announcement with 4 words, "Legacy over luggage." Aya Wilson posted an Instagram story of herself watching Caitlyn's presser on repeat. Caption, "This is what leadership looks like." Even Serena Williams slid into the conversation. "Some things money can't buy." Respect, sis. Back in the league offices, chaos. Emergency. Zoom calls at 2 a.m., owners screaming that their franchise valuations were built on one name, and that name almost walked. One governor reportedly told Engelbert, if she had said yes, you'd be selling this team by Christmas. The next morning, the league quietly circulated a memo. They were accelerating revenue-sharing talks, exploring mid-season charter expansion, and most shocking of all, floating the idea of an equity pool for players if the new TV deal clears certain thresholds. Translation: Caitlyn Clark just forced the WNBA to grow up overnight. Sophie tried to clap back on her podcast, voice cracking, insisting, "I'm still proud, I'm still me," but the live chat was a bloodbath. Arby's paused their campaign. Fashion Nova deleted her from the feed. The algorithm buried her. For the first time in years, she'd been the loudest voice in every room. Now the room had chosen a quieter one, and the silence was deafening. Across the Atlantic, Project B's slick Instagram grid started posting generic sunset shots with captions about empowering women. The comments were disabled within hours. And in gyms from Indianapolis to Istanbul, rookies who grew up idolizing both Sophie and Caitlyn made their choice without hesitation. They started posting training clips with one hashtag only, #BuildHere. The message was crystal clear. You can buy players, you can buy leagues, you can buy silence, but you cannot buy the soul of this game. And right now, as the dust settles and the league scrambles to rewrite its future, one question burns brighter than all. The Saudi billions combined. If Caitlyn Clark can turn a single no into the most powerful statement in women's sports history, what happens when the rest of the league finally says yes to itself? Hold on tight, because the real revolution is just getting started. The smoke is cleared, the memes are settled, and the truth stands taller than any private jet contract ever could. Caitlyn Clark didn't just say no to a $100 million temptation. She looked the devil in the eye and chose the harder road, the road paved with charter flights that still don't exist for most teams, with max contracts that barely cover a down payment in most cities, with a league that still makes rookies share hotel rooms and fly commercial. She chose the road her foremothers bled for, the one Sue Bird walked when she made 70 grand a year, the one Cheryl Swoops walked when the league almost folded twice, the one Diana Taurasi still walks at 43 because someone has to guard the gate. And in that choice, Caitlyn did something bigger than any scoreboard ever could. She reminded every little black girl in Chicago, every Latina kid in L.A., every queer teenager in a red state, every immigrant daughter whose parents work double shifts, that your worth is not measured by the loudest bidder. Your worth is measured by the size of the dream you refuse to sell. Sophie Cunningham thought money could buy legacy. She learned the hard way that legacy isn't for sale. It's built in the sweat of American arenas, in the tears of moms who finally see their daughters on national TV, in the roar of crowds that paid their own money to watch women play the game they love, not the game of empire. Project B wanted to colonize women's basketball, the way LIV colonized golf. Flash a check, fracture the family, rebrand the sport under a flag most of us would never salute. But women's basketball has always been different. We were never just a sport. We were a movement wrapped in a crossover dribble. We were Title IX in motion. We were every girl who was told she throws like one, shoots like one, dreams like one, and answered by breaking the backboard anyway. Caitlyn's no didn't just save the WNBA. It saved the story we tell ourselves about who gets to be great in this country. That greatness isn't reserved for those who inherit billions or bow to them. It's reserved for those who stay, who fight, who build a house instead of burning it down for a bigger one overseas. So here's the moral burning brighter than any. Riyadh's skyline. Real wealth is rarer than riches. Loyalty is sexier than a Lumbo fleet. And when a farm kid from Iowa stands in the fire and refuses to flinch, she doesn't just protect the league. She protects every single one of us. Whoever had to choose between the easy money and the righteous road, the WNBA isn't perfect. The paychecks are still too small. The respect is still too late. The safety protocols are still catching up, but it's ours. And because Caitlyn Clark said not for sale, it always will be. This isn't the end of the fight. It's the beginning of the era where the daughters of immigrants, the kids from the projects, the small town phenoms, the late bloomers, the loud, proud, unapologetic women of every shade and stripe look at Caitlyn and know the league that raised us will never be auctioned off on our watch. We don't need foreign billions to validate our brilliance. We validate ourselves one sold-out arena, one viral highlight, one unbreakable no at a time. And when the history books write this chapter, they won't lead with the money that was offered. They'll lead with the woman who turned it down and the millions of us who stood taller because she did. The dream stays American. The crown stays ours. And the next generation, they're already lacing up. Sophie Cunningham thought money could buy silence. She thought flashing a 9-figure smile would make us forget the little girls in the nosebleeds wearing her old Mercury jersey, the ones who painted their faces and screamed until their throats bled for a league that finally felt like theirs. She was wrong. Caitlyn Clark didn't just say no. She stood in the fire, looked straight into the camera, and chose every immigrant mom, driving Uber at 3 a.m. to pay for her daughter's AAU fees. She chose every black queen who laced up in gyms that still smell like segregation. She chose Every queer kid who finally saw themselves on national television and thought, maybe this country has room for me too. That single word, no, was rejection. It was revolution. So here's the truth we're taking into tomorrow. The WNBA isn't a league. It's a promise. A promise that talent built on American soil, water with American sweat, celebrated in American arenas, will never be auctioned off to the highest dictator. Sophie sold her seat at the table. Caitlyn just carved the bigger chairs for everyone else. If that fires you up, if you're ready to protect this beautiful, messy, hard-fought dream, then smash that like button like it's a game-winning free throw. Drop hashtag StayWNBA in the comments and tag the rookies who need to hear it. Subscribe, turn on the bell because the second another domino wobbles, we'll be here, louder than ever. This isn't the end of the story. This is the moment the story starts fighting back, and we're writing the next chapter together